good, y'all? Welcome to Conversation Piece, the show about the missing pieces of the conversations we are already having. I'm your host, Patrick Armstrong, and I am very excited to be here with you, returning listeners, first-time listeners, and every listener that chooses to stay beyond this point here in 2024, the year of the nap. I had an announcement that I was going to make, and I've forgotten what it was, but the real announcement that I want to make is that I'm very excited about my conversation today. My guest today bridges the gap between conscious rap and trap music, acting as a catalyst for the new generation of hip-hop. In addition to music, he's a senior at Jackson State University, majoring in journalism, and he's also the founder of God's Child, a brand that I am trying to learn more about right here, right now. So without further ado, it is my honor and privilege to welcome Dierre Hartman, a.k.a. Kxng Dierre, to the show. What's going on with you?
I'm pretty good, man. Thanks for having me. That was it's kind of like what Corey said. That was a good intro.
Thank you very much.
I like that. I feel like you do well with those introductions and stuff like that. So
I appreciate it. I will say that I owe it to the guest for the introductions because y'all have the information. I'm just pulling bits and pieces and trying to stick it together. So
that was great.
It's easy to hype you up when you've accomplished so many things.
Gonna make me blush, man. Chill, man.
Well, great, I just want to say, I want to start off by saying thank you because we have been trying to sit down for a little over 2 months now. Yeah. I think right after our conversation with Corey, we connected.
For sure.
Because he name dropped you and talked about the farthest.
Shout out to Corey. I call him Rondo, man.
Rondo, that's the assist right there.
Yes, man.
He's good at that. That's what we talked about, playmaker, 100%. Definitely. But, and I know that it was like two ships passing in the night. I feel like we just kept passing, and you're back in the city now.
Yes,
and you hit me up, and I wanted to make it happen, so we're making it happen today. So thank you for being patient with me as we got it going.
Man, thank you for having me here. I'm really appreciative. So
absolutely. So I gave you a little bit of an introduction, but for folks listening, watching at home who don't know who you are, do you mind sharing just a little bit more about yourself?
For sure. For those who don't know, my name is Dierre, a.k.a. Kxng Dierre. That's my artist name. And a lot of people know me as God's Child. I own the brand God's Child by Dierre. So, yeah. And I'm from the far east side of Indianapolis, Indiana. And I currently attend Jackson State University as a senior at this point. So, yeah.
All right. You were born in Detroit and then came to Indianapolis. Yep. How long were you in Detroit?
I was in Detroit all the way up to like 2007. That's when my mom moved here to Indy. We originally lived in Anderson, Indiana, and then she moved into the city, I think, in 2008. And then from there, we stayed here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And how old were you then? I'm trying to do the math from your senior in college.
So, in 2008, I was 7.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've been here since
like you said, you were born in Detroit, but you grew up in Indianapolis.
Yeah, definitely grew up here.
Can you talk just a little bit about that experience, being on the east side?
I always tell people that I was a school hopper. So I went to multiple different schools. I'm not gonna say all the schools I went to, but as far as high school, I went to Providence Cristo Rey. That's like a private Catholic school. Then from there I went to Brow Ripple.
Okay.
That was my sophomore year. But the year that I went, that was the year that they closed, and then I transferred from Brow Ripple to Shortridge, and that's where I graduated.
Okay.
So when I went to Brow Ripple, that's how I got acclimated, and I kind of that's how my music prowess kind of sparked or whatever like that. So, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So what came first then? I guess because we talked about majoring in journalism. Mm-hmm. You've fallen in. I think you're a big proponent of storytelling.
Yeah.
When I think about what is the one base thing, I think we can root it in storytelling. What did you fall in love with first? Was it the storytelling of music, or was it the storytelling of, say, a journalist or something that you're seeing on TV? What kind of storytelling did you find yourself drawn to at the beginning?
That's a good question. I think the first experience I had with like falling in love with music, it was when I was a lot younger. But as far as me being conscious about music and what music means and stuff like that, it was my 7th grade year, because my 7th grade year, that was when To Pimp a Butterfly came out. And that was the first album that I really did a deep dive, and I looked up different interviews. That was the first interview that I actually seen from like a journalist, Rob Markman. He had a sit down talk with Kendrick, and it was like 4 parts, I think. That was like the first time I seen something of that nature, and I really loved that video. And that video kind of sparked my interest into journalism, music journalism specifically.
Okay.
But I think it kind of went hand in hand personally.
Sure.
So, because me listening to that album sparked me actually writing, because I started writing poetry after I heard that album.
Okay.
And then that's how I got into rapping. So it's kind of like, I guess it's like a parallel line.
Yeah.
For
Well,
sure.
they're intertwined and they can't really be untangled.
Exactly.
Like they're always going to go together. All right. First off, you're making me feel very old saying "To Pimp a Butterfly" came out when you were in 7th grade. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I was dropped out of college by this point. Wonderful album, and I can definitely see how as a 7th grader could spark this imagination of wanting to express yourself through writing.
For sure.
Do you know what those first poems were about? Do you remember kind of what you were expressing at that time?
I think at the time, like, I stayed with my dad at the time, and I just really wasn't well with just expressing like being sad or being mad. Like, I think when I was younger, I was really angry, and I didn't know how to express that as a child. Like, I did a lot of lashing out and just doing a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. So I think me writing kind of helped me center all that energy and those emotions and putting it into words instead of like action. So yeah.
Okay. And when did poetry become music, or was it always music?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it definitely was always music. I wrote them as raps. So
gotcha.
From 8th grade year all the way up to freshman year, I used to always just be at the lunch tables rapping different stuff. And people would just be like, man, like, you need to get in the studio. You need to really make music. And I'm just writing this stuff. But then once I got in high school, from Providence Cristo Rey, when I went to Broad Ripple, me being in Broad Ripple really kind of sparked that.
Okay.
Because we had a studio there. And with us having a studio there, we got to record. And that's when I finally started recording stuff. So from me going to Broad Ripple all the way to Shortridge, I told myself my junior year of high school, I was like, I'm going to take this music stuff serious. So I met this dude. His name was Morris, but we called him Ammo. I recorded my first song, and he was kind of like my go-to engineer. And from there, like, that's when I got into like the indie music scene and started making music and stuff like that. So yeah.
Okay. What was the first single? What was the first song that you recorded? And is it available for people to find, or is it something you keep close to the vest?
I don't mind if people hear it, but it definitely isn't like the first thing I show people. But ironically, the first song that I made was called Kxng Dierre.
Okay.
It's on SoundCloud. I made that in like, I think I released it like August of 2018 or 2019, and that was like the first song I made. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not something. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, go ahead. I mean,
if you came out with your best song first, then you're only going down.
Oh
so
yeah, for sure.
That makes sense.
For sure.
It's
you
it's
could
a good
tell
place
though,
like
you could tell I had like glimpse of what was to come.
Sure.
Because listening to it now, like, I'm like, yeah, I see where I was going with what I was making. So I'm not embarrassed by it. It's just funny because it's just like, it was just not my best at all.
Yeah. Well, especially being in this time of like, not only accelerated time, but elongated time because of the pandemic.
For
like,
sure.
It makes that 5-year gap between 2018 and 2023, 6 years, 2024, seem like a lot longer than it was. So it is interesting to think about even just a grip of time back.
For sure.
About, how much have I changed during that time? But let's go back to junior year, taking it seriously, connecting with Ammo, and then getting involved in the scene.
Yeah.
What was your perspective on the indie hip hop scene at that time? Especially because I think Skip talked about it too. Like, that was really kind of the time that he found himself breaking into the scene, was mid high school years, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was, well, Skip and I are about the same age, maybe about 10 years prior to you entering into it. So what was your perspective on it when you were starting to make inroads?
I think it was an interesting time. Personally, the first person that I met in the indie music scene was Baby Ebony. I'll never forget. We went to, we had a basketball game at Tab. You know where Tab is?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a basketball game at Tab, and I had met him. We had a long conversation. He was just giving me a lot of free game about like where to go to, going to different open mics, performing here, performing there. But mind you, I'm in high school, so
Right.
I'm young. But a lot of the people that I met, like Baby Ebony's, Fox the Legends, Double A's, at the time her name was American, but Kendall, like meeting them and them being around me, like they used to sneak me into different venues and stuff, and I'm real young or whatever. But I think at that time the music scene was kind of like it was like, what's the word? It was the foundation of like the new age of the indie.
Okay, like
indie
it was
music scene.
in its burgeoning, kind of
Yes, because there was a lot of different sounds that wasn't like normal for indie. It was very like East Coast, like lo-fi. But it also was just a trap. Like it's kind of like what Corey said in his interview with you. Like we are a melting pot. So whatever we hear as far as the different sounds, we kind of like are sponges. So it was just a different plethora of sounds and stuff like that. So the music scene was definitely interesting at the time. And I feel like it was a lot more personal because now music is everywhere. It's harder to get people to really like centralize themselves to listen to your music. But I feel like at that time, it was more like, all right, I got my stuff out. And people were like, oh, okay, well, let me listen to this. Like, it was definitely different. Very different, very different. Very young. My bad.
I think it's interesting. I think that is very different from what it is now because it's been, I want to say even back then it felt commercialized because it was like you're getting past, I think this is post LimeWire and post like really even like Dat Piff. Like that's where I was getting a lot of mixtapes and stuff.
SoundCloud was jumping. Like SoundCloud, like if you put your stuff on SoundCloud, it wasn't weird. It's not weird now, but it wasn't like, it was very normal. That's all I say. Like I used to put my stuff on SoundCloud. I used to get a lot of numbers, a lot of engagement. It's not like that no more. Like it's very different now.
Well, with the advent of like big companies like an Amazon, like an Apple Music creating their own streaming services, it makes sense that it's different and that we migrate to those because they're also tied to the devices that we listen on.
And I also had this point with Corey. At that time, putting your music out on everywhere was not normal. Like, it was rare because a lot of people didn't know where to put their music. Right. So at that time, me being in high school, me knowing where to put my music at, it was so many people being like, especially in my school, they like, how did you get all your stuff on here? Like, we don't know how to do that. Like, I was very young in learning like all these different nuances of how to put your music out and stuff like that. So it was definitely different, like I said.
Picking up kind of the business side of it a little bit, even though maybe that wasn't the intent at that time.
Yeah, for sure.
To figure out the numbers. Were you aware that was something that you were aware of? Like paying attention to some of those metrics and like testing out the different platforms or how you go about getting your music in front of people? Because that's at high school. Like it seems like it's young, but also I feel like speaking with Corey, and I feel I get the same sense with you. It's like you kind of are already thinking at an advanced level when it comes to what it is you want to do. That myself and a lot of, I think, people at 16, 17 aren't necessarily thinking about.
Yeah, I think I kind of did have that business mindset going into it. I knew as an individual, you just weren't going to thrive off of your talent. Because talent doesn't get you anywhere. Connections get you everywhere. And I think with me, I learned that you have to brand yourself first. So originally, I didn't have God's Shout. I used to have this brand that's called Always Love Dierre. And a lot of people bought into the brand. And I made an EP titled after it. And I think early on, I knew that branding yourself was everything. And I think once I moved to Jackson, I kind of amplified that and really took advantage of like, all right, it's more than just your talent. Because I knew I was very good with my ability to rap, but I knew at the end of the day, that wasn't going to get me by. That wasn't going to get me where I wanted to be like financially and just like engagement-wise.
Sure. Well, you're also have this itch for journalism. Mm-hmm. And so you also have something that's, well, I'm assuming that's what took you to Jackson in the first place.
Yeah, for sure.
You wanted to go study journalism at JSU.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is like, it's, what was I going to say? How was I going to tie that together? I don't know. Anyways, what it was making me think of was how you also approached it from a journalistic perspective and mindset.
Yeah.
So thinking about numbers and how talent isn't what's going to get you that far, how branding is something that's important. How much of that was your interest in wanting to dive deeper from maybe not a journalistic perspective, but from like a similar pursuit of wanting to uncover like a deeper truth, which I think is what branding is at a certain level,
For sure.
because a lot of people don't think about branding that way until it's too late.
For sure.
Or they're on game really early, like yourself.
Definitely.
Like, was that part of this drive to want to like dig deeper into the stuff that you're always involved in?
Yeah. So like when I made my brand God's Child, I made it based on me experiencing what I experienced my freshman year of college. Like,
Okay.
a lot of people didn't know at the time. A lot of people knew about the stuff that was happening in Houston as far as what was it called? I think they had, I don't remember if it was a flood or something like that. It was in like 2021, but basically when they was experiencing what they experienced, we suffered a severe snowstorm.
Okay.
And it froze over the pipes that was there, and a lot of us had to go to different hotels and use porta potties and portable showers, and experiencing that, me overcoming those situations and those circumstances, especially with me trying to leave from my city and experience something new.
Yeah.
Like, it took a toll on me, but I got through it. But me getting through it gave me just the moniker of, saying I'm God's child. Because there's no other way I could have got through that. So I knew that with me taking that, with that situation, I knew a lot of people could relate to that.
Sure.
Especially at my school. So when I made the brand God's Child and I explained like, okay, this is what it means, like a lot of people related to it. And just even if people didn't know about that story, just hearing it, I knew that this was something that people could relate to and could gravitate to. So yeah, I think I always approached everything as far as like, what's the story behind everything?
Sure, because it's like, well, your experience feeds into your own art and what you talk about and why you created this specific brand. And I love that story. I love the meaning behind it, because not everybody needs to know that's the origin point. And it does fuel everything that you want to do with said brand. You just had a really dope Juneteenth drop.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I really love about your brand, what you do in music, but also like the conversations that we've had on the show this year, has been the intentionality behind the choices that people make in terms of what they do.
Yeah.
When it comes to, so you say like you get out of Indy, you get to Jackson State, you're thinking about like the ways that business is necessary for you to further your own art.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time as I'm going to invest in myself, even though we can call going to college, and I would call it an investment. I'm trying to think of like the way that systemic inequity and capitalism is like, that's how I want to describe it, but I'm not thinking of a adequate way to describe it, because we shouldn't have to like, that shouldn't be the investment. Like we should be invested in. Anyways, you go there to do that, to pursue this career or potentially a career in journalism. Was that the career move that you wanted to do? Like, was that the lead, and then music was pillar 1B or B, and then God's Child or the branding was pillar C or 1C? How did that all kind of coalesce together, especially after the freshman year of lots of quote hardship? Yeah.
So to be really honest, I came to Jackson State because I was trying to get away from the city. I was just involved in a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have been involved in, and I feel like that was just my way of just trying to get away from the city and really start a new life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's just ironic that me going from one situation that started off bad and trying to, start a new life and better my life, I experienced more hardship,
Sure.
And I think I've always had that music and I've always had that journalistic mindset, but me going to Jackson State amplified that, because I didn't think nothing of it. Like, I was just like, oh, well, they got a journalism degree. And, they got a journalism major and degree. And I get there and I experience what I experienced. To be honest, I was going to transfer.
Yeah.
But then something told me, like, stick it out one more year. And my sophomore year was like my favorite year of college. Like I got acclimated with the community in Jackson State, experienced at that time, that was when Dion came through. And I had a real life college experience, and I had a love for the different teachers I had that was in my major and stuff like that. So everything just kind of meshed together. Like I always loved music, loved journalism. Me going to school kind of just amplified that and just made it 10 times better. So yeah.
So how do you balance those multiple lanes that you find yourself in? I think it's because it's like, I think hard. When I thought I dropped out of school, and I'm thinking about like how overwhelmed I felt trying to do all the different things that I felt I had my hands in. Yeah. And so from the outside, it's like I'm seeing you succeed and thrive in the different avenues you find yourself in, and I'm just interested, like what's the balance there?
People ask me that all the time. I honestly don't know. Sure. Like I think one thing I've learned is that I used to cram everything. Like I used to be like, I got to drop every month. I got to make this at this time. I think what I do now is I just take my time and try to make one solid project. It's like what you said with intentionality. Like I try to be intentional with everything I do. So if I'm with Juneteenth, I had Juneteenth planned out in fall of last year. Okay. I knew I was going to do a Juneteenth drop. I was like, all right, let me plan this out. And then I think 2 months prior from now, I made a mock-up. I was like, okay, this is what it's going to be. This is what it's going to be. This is how I'm going to do a rollout. So everything is thought out and planned out. I just space out everything now because it's not about having consecutive things back to back. It's more or less like, what is the intention behind this? How are you selling it to the people? And then, is it authentic? Right. So with that Juneteenth drop, a lot of people don't know about a Juneteenth flag, let alone what is the purpose of Juneteenth and stuff like that. So I wanted to make sure that they always say the best thing to do when you having a brand is to educate and to inform. Yeah. So I wanted to do that while also being able to make it stylish. Like, I don't know.
No, I love it. I think that it reminds me a lot of Lestar Jackson from St. Avenue. He came on the show and talked very similarly about the intentionality and the storytelling that he tries to embody through the pieces that he creates. Yeah. And it's not about a quantity thing. I've been getting ads a lot on Instagram that from marketers that it's not posting every day. That's not a marketing strategy. Exactly. And I'm like, okay, it's not about and it just makes me think about, okay, it's not about the quantity. It's really about the quality. And can you reach that level of authenticity that creates resonance for people to come back? Because I look, and another thing this made me think about is like a vanity metric of like followers for Instagram. And I look at other people who operate in a similar space that I do, or even other places. And I see there are like 4x the number of followers, different types of like engagement. But when you go and look at some of the other actual numbers below that, it feels really inorganic in a way that feels inauthentic. Exactly. And it's not maybe any specific shade towards any specific people operating in a space. Of course not. Because for a lot of people, they might not have control over that. Exactly. However, float your boat. However, like for me, as somebody who utilizes that space to generate community and find and build community, it's like I want to reach that level of authenticity. And so it always interests me to hear how people try and find a balance between all of the different things they do, because it means that I like to know how you reach that level of authenticity on all the different levels that you're operating.
I think with me going to a HBCU, that kind of sparked that authenticity. Hold up, I think I got to sneeze.
You good?
Okay, I'm good. If I felt it coming, my bad. But with me going to a HBCU, specifically Jackson State, I am in Jackson, Mississippi. Jackson, Mississippi is the highest population of African Americans in the country, but it is also the poorest. Yeah. So with me understanding the dynamics and seeing all the stuff that they go through, them not having good water, poor infrastructure, their own governor taking money from these people, I have an understanding that community is everything. Yep. And the fact that they deal with that and they still manage to go to work every day, manage to keep their kids in school and still have a strong sense of pride in where they from and their culture, that kind of sparked my my interest in just doing everything with intention. I'll never
Yeah.
forget. It was a girl. I forgot her name. I'm mad I forgot her name. I'll never forget. I was at a party, and she was like, "I really like your brand." I was like, "Thank you." And she was just like, "But one thing I really wish you would do." It's like, yeah, you could do a color, you could do this, you can make this look nice, but I feel like you should do it with more intention. And when she said that to me, it stuck with me.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never forget her telling me that. She probably didn't even think nothing of that,
Sure.
but like that really stuck with me. So I said from that point forward, I would do everything with pure intention. And like, I said I'd never just do a random drop no more. Like, I have to do everything with intention now. So,
I like that she felt comfortable enough to share that with you in that moment. And
it probably was a mixture of like alcohol.
Sure.
But it's
not
like, it was worth
realizing
it
how
though.
it catalyzed you to then be intentional in all of that. Speaking of intention, was it intentional to go to Jackson State specifically? Or was it always like, I just want to go to an HBCU that has a journalism option?
Well, to be honest, I knew I wanted to go to an HBCU because I wasn't a dumb kid in school. I had very good grades, and I was lucky enough to have a scholarship, the 21st Century Scholarship.
Yep.
That would allow me to go to any PWI for a ride, but I didn't want to go to a PWI personally. Sure. I wanted to be with my people, but my thing is, a lot of the HBCUs that are promoted near Indianapolis, I didn't want to go to. Sure. They promote Central, TSU, and Kentucky State. I didn't want to go to none of those places because that was still too familiar, and too many people from here went there. So I was just like, let me go to somewhere where it's not a lot of people where I'm from, so where I really have a clean slate and I'm really acclimating myself with a bunch of different people from different places and stuff like that. So, because I feel like the common misconception is, oh, well, if you go to a HBCU, you're not going to be acclimated with the real world. Sure. Do you know it's so many different, like, dynamics of African Americans?
Right.
Like, like me going to a HBCU really, I already knew that, but I really saw how different and vast it is. There's so many different dynamics and like cultures of blackness that people don't really talk about, in my opinion.
Well, we love as a country and a society to generalize.
Of course.
And so, like, when everybody's Asian, like everybody's East Asian, most likely Chinese, maybe Japanese or Korean.
Right.
But then that gets rid of the 47 other countries and ethnicities that make up that continent.
Exactly.
Not even speaking about the intersectional, like, other identities or cultures or faiths that go along with it. And I think it's just like, it's easy we just want to find the easy way out. But it's more incredible and more beautiful to be able to look at and see those differences. Yeah. It's cool that you're able to immerse yourself in that.
Yeah.
And I like the decision to go further. Yeah. Because I think it's, again, the easy decision to stay closer, to go to Kentucky State, just be right over the border. You know, you can just come home when you need. But it does take a little bit of fortitude and courage to want to take that leap and immerse yourself in that way.
And let me be clear. I am not mad at black folks for going to PWIs. I don't want any rage bait, any engagement as far as that. I'm gonna make that clear. If you a black grad, I salute you. I just don't like that narrative. That's all.
Yeah. Everybody's got their own path that they're on.
For sure.
And the path that you're on is the one for you. And that's all good with us.
For sure.
Something that you got to do at Jackson State was be part of NPR's Next Generation Radio.
For sure, yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that experience? And then I have just a couple questions about some of the stuff that you worked on.
So, with me being a part of the journalism department at Jackson State, they have their own personal page, and they had a flyer for the NPR internship program or whatever. Yeah. And it was interesting because I didn't think nothing of it, but I was like, let me apply. So I applied for it. I got in, and basically it was a one week program, and essentially they had like a theme to what they wanted. So the theme was, what is home? And you basically had to pick somebody that you didn't know and do a story about what does home mean to them. Now, me being in Jackson, I am around and I know a lot of different creatives. So I wanted to interview my homegirl, Monica. Her name Monica Hill, and she does like mixed media like art. And I knew that me choosing her would be a great story because she's just real bubbly and she does really great work, and she's had different work and pieces in different museums and stuff like that. So I felt like I wanted to tell her story because a lot of people in Mississippi itself don't have that platform to tell their story and how they get into art and stuff like that. Because I feel like to be creative in such a impoverished like city, beyond just impoverished, but just to go through what they go through every day, like it's amazing that they still find a way to make that into art. So I wanted her to basically dive into what that meant for her. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did for sure.
Okay.
And we're going to link to the work that you did so people can take a look at it and take a look at Monica's story. Definitely people should check that out. How did those conversations and the coverage that you did and working on telling her story, how did that affect the way you approach your own craft, whether it be journalism or music?
That's a great question. The cool part about it is that it was like experts, whether it was writers, photographers, audio people, like they basically we were on Zoom calls and we had different conversations with them, kind of guiding me on how to get a good story, ask the right questions, taking the right pictures and stuff like that. So I think it definitely helped a lot with navigating a story and how to really basically mold a story into how you want to do it. Because most people, like, they'll have a sit down conversation. It's just kind of straightforward. Like, we're gonna talk about this, we're gonna talk about this. When I did this program, it was like, all right, you're gonna ask these questions and everything she answers, you're gonna piece them together and make it make sense. And I have never done that before. Like, I was literally like, it was just very very different, but it was very helpful in my journalism, specifically just because, all right, now I know how to tell a story in a different way that I normally tell it. But as far as music, I think it kind of helped with just, like, I guess the creative workload and how efficiently I could work. So yeah, for sure.
Okay, I got a good question to come back to for that in a little bit. Okay, thank you for sharing that. What did you take away from your specific mentor, Tequila Foster? Like anything? Tequila Foster. Anything specifically you took away from your time with them?
Shout out to Tequila. She taught me how to really be assertive and just kind of be straightforward. Because I'm very, like, walk on eggshells with people, especially if I don't know people. She was just like, no, tell them at this time you're going to meet up with them and you're going to do this. Like, it's not mean, it's not rude, but it's just how you talk, because you have to kind of be stern about, all right, you want this to be in a timely manner. And if you can't do it, you can't do it. Like, she taught me a lot of those intangibles and just being very mindful about how you say things and just... again, being demanding and assertive about certain stuff like that. So, yeah. Any
examples that you can share of, like, this is how I navigate this situation that you weren't doing before?
Like, a lot of times when we were doing the program, it was like we had a certain time limit of what we could do. So, let's say I'm spending, like, 30 minutes on writing. So, I'm sitting up here trying to write or whatever, and then after those 30 minutes, I have to meet up with the photographer and check pictures. So, I'm almost at the end of my writing, and it's still nowhere near done. So she's like, well, since you're nowhere near done, you need to tell the photographer, we can worry about those pictures later. Tell her we'll meet up at 4 p.m. and mine just like 12. Like, we can meet up with her later. It's not a priority. So I guess it really taught me about prioritizing what needs to be done, and then also, like, just being assertive without feeling like it's mean. You know what I'm saying?
That's a lot of transferable skill, especially to music on the business side of it. It's like, how do I go and get this money for this work that I just did, without alienating all the people that are going to be able to cut me that check?
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing that too. I think it's I had heard of Next Generation Radio, but I didn't know a lot about the program, and just kind of following a little bit of your journey with it has been really insightful.
Really, really good people.
Yeah, and I love that they do stuff like that, because I think I went to Ball State for one semester, and I majored in journalism because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I just felt like it was, to be honest, old and white. And I felt like they were trying to teach us how you couldn't be Like there was no truly objective journalism, which I found out now is probably true. But at the time I was just like, it didn't sit right.
Yeah.
So I left. But I didn't feel like there were anything like this available
Yeah.
at the time, like a program that supports somebody to go through that process and then gives them the skills.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool. I love the overarching theme of it too. What does home mean to the people of Jackson? What does home mean to you?
Let me take my time with this one. I think it's interesting. I'm not like most people. I always look at my journey in my life kind of like a mutt. I don't consider myself a mutt, but
Sure.
you know the mutt, it's like different breeds of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm from Detroit, but I grew up in Indianapolis, and then now I've ventured from Indianapolis to Jackson. So I've kind of consumed and kind of been a sponge to these different cultures and these different environments. And I think as far as what is home, I think what home is to me is just, I don't know, just being, doing what you love, but also allowing what you love to really allow you to grow. I don't think I understood at the time where music would get me and how it would change my life.
Yeah.
But it definitely did change my life. I grew up in the church. I sung in the choir and stuff like that. So music wasn't foreign to me. My mother sings. My not my great grandfather, but my grandfather, he was a singer in Detroit. My great grandmother, she was a background singer. She was supposed to go on tour with Ray Charles. God rest her soul. So music is not foreign. But I think one thing that I've learned is that it really is something that I love to use as a way of expression. Like, I'm not the loudest person. I'm very like, I'm not somebody that isn't afraid of confrontation and stuff like that. But when I make music, that's just a different level of like, all right, this is how I really feel. And I really pride myself on trying to express how I feel in poetic form, but also just sonically too. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the beautiful thing about music is there's so many different ways to do that. And listening to your music, I feel like you've definitely achieved that. And also, I feel like that was a really beautiful answer.
Thank you.
That's getting clipped out, so I can't wait to share that with people. But it actually does take me to the music aspect of your career.
Yeah.
You went to Jackson. You are working on journalism. I think you were working on a little bit of music during the time. I know I believe I saw some singles that were coming out, but you've also talked about needing to take a break.
Yeah.
And I believe that was when you were in the Next Generation Radio program. Was that the hiatus that you found yourself in?
The hiatus was when I went to Jackson State.
Okay, so that started the hiatus.
That started the hiatus.
Okay, gotcha.
But ironically, with that hiatus, me getting to Jackson State, one thing I learned about college is that the purpose of college really is to kind of groom you into the very things that you are trying to pursue. So yes, I was pursuing journalism, but I didn't think nothing of the music I was making.
Sure.
But after my freshman year, the school was starting to open up. So you started getting acclimated with organizations and stuff like that. So the organization that I drew to and ended up joining was Outspoken Arts Collective. And that consists of multiple different artists within the campus, but they're from different places in like, so the Midwest, the South and stuff like that. And me getting into Outspoken really kind of sparked my creativity again.
Okay.
Like, if it wasn't for me joining Outspoken, I wouldn't have got that love for music back. And I just learned so much from different artists like Dev Mack, Malia Dawn, C.G. Measy, Casanova, or Cass Brooks, Dominic Hines. Like, it's so many different people that is in that org that I learned a lot from that kind of helped me spark that creativity back. So, yeah.
Okay, I love it. And then all of this kind of culminates then. So you've got the creative spark coming back. You're with the Outspoken Artists Collective. You're learning from a lot of people.
Yes.
Collaborating, I'm assuming, on stuff that nobody has heard yet,
Yes.
which I hope will come out
Eventually.
at an eventual point.
I collabed with a few people in Outspoken that is out. So I collabed with my homeboy Oz. My homeboy Oz. We got a song called Outspoken, which is funny. And then Are You Down? That's a track that I got out. That's me, my homeboy Dominic, and then what's another song that I did with somebody else working. I think that's all for right now, unless something not ringing the bell. But like you said, a lot of this stuff is unreleased. So,
yeah. Well, and yeah, can't wait for the unreleased stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it all culminates in the Farthest EP that you dropped, which I think is a little teaser for stuff that we'll talk about here at the end of the episode. But so Kane Baby, first off, banger, love that track.
Thank you.
What I want to ask you about though is related now back to the brand. So when you started God's Child, you dropped a single called God's Child.
Yeah.
And then on the Farthest, you have revisited this song as an acoustic, which I actually like this version more than the original.
A lot of people do.
I think it bites more. I think you on the track bite more than on the original, because I think the production is like, it's all so mixed well together, like you can't separate them.
Yeah. Shout out to Rye.
Is there a special significance to the acoustic version, and the reason that you want to include that? Because obviously the song is your brand, and I like that there are multiple iterations of the song.
Yeah.
Do they hold, or is there a special significance to having multiple iterations?
Another fun fact, when I made God's Child, like not the song but the brand, originally God's Child was supposed to be an album.
Okay.
I was gonna name that an album, but I was like, nah, I'm gonna make it a brand. So I ended up making it a brand, but then I always had that single because I wrote God's Child like my freshman year of college.
Okay.
And then it was perfect because the song God's Child was a reflection of what I went through in my freshman year, because I was like calling my mama. Calling my mama, we out of water every day. Calling my father.
Yeah.
He told me all is gonna be straight. You God's Child. Like I was talking about my freshman year. So the significance is still the same.
Yeah.
I just made an acoustic version because I had planned on like doing something with that, but we just ended up just making an acoustic version. So it's not like a significance in it's just different sounds.
Yeah. Well,
so,
you never know, because sometimes there's layers in musicians. I know we talked about like we don't always have to be mysterious. I think that was before we got on mic, but it's just like sometimes some of that there's like that version came out first, like when in the studio, and it's like, okay, this like is tied to this specific memory. So I appreciate you sharing that.
For sure.
So now, speaking of then this music, we mentioned Corey a few times. Shout out to Corey. But you are part of that collective, Slum Baby Family. Shout out to SBF.
Yes, sir.
How did you first get connected with them, and then how did you all get connected, and how you get hooked up?
It's funny because the first time that I seen Corey, I think the first time I seen Corey, he had this song called PDT. And it was funny to me because, like, I know a lot of people from the East Side, but I've never seen someone make like a music video over there on Mesa, over there by Mesa Gardens. Because 42nd and Post is not far from where I grew up. I grew up on 38th and Post, so it's literally a block away. And when I seen that, I was like, "Who is this rapping over there in Mesa Gardens?" It was rapping in the laundry room and stuff like that. It was just crazy to me because beyond just like who was doing it, it was like I've never heard somebody from that part of town rap the way he did. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So like we got acclimated. I reached out to him. I'm like, I like your work and stuff like that. He hit me back. He was like, I like your work too. And then I think as time went on, he had eventually reached out to me and was like, man, I want you to join the collective.
Hey.
It's funny because at first I didn't want to. I was like, nah, like, I don't know. Like, but he kept tugging at me. He's like, come on, man, I think it'd be dope. Whoop-de-whoop. Because at the time, he had a lot of different artists that was in the collective that aren't in there no more. But he just kept tugging at me. And I was like, yeah, I join. And then, but instead of just like being like, oh, you just join and then be that, like he actually introduced me to everybody that was in there. And, like, it really is a family. Like, we're not just a bunch of people that just make music and do stuff together and just tolerate each other. Like, these people I actually hang out with, like eat food with, met my family and stuff like that. It's really like a family.
It's not just like an IG
mutual
following.
Like these people I call like when I need help, need something like for real.
Like true community.
Literally,
family, like you said.
Literally.
100%. Well, the reason I asked is because we have a recurring segment on the show called Give Them Their Flowers, where our guests shout out one person or one thing or somebody that they want to give their flowers to. Had to shout out the SBF, but is there anybody specific that you'd love to give flowers to today?
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely shout out to SBF. Shout out to Corey, Macalades, Fife, Dez. Like, if it wasn't for them, like, my music creativity wouldn't have been where it is now, and I really do appreciate them. Probably more than they probably know. Definitely shout out to Outspoken Arts Collective. Everybody that I've had a relationship with in there, like Dev, he's my mentor, Dev, Malia, Nick, Meech, like everybody at Outspoken. Like, shout out to y'all. And shout out to Jackson State in general. If it wasn't for me going to Jackson State, my life would be a lot different. Going to Jackson State really changed my life. And then lastly, like, just shout out to my immediate family, like my moms, my dad, my big sisters, and my little siblings. Like, I really am appreciative of just all that we've went through and just how we've overcome all that. So yeah, for sure. Those are my flowers. It's probably more people, but yeah.
Beautiful. Shout out to everybody that you just named. We'll get flowers to as many people as possible. Shout out to Madeline for being an incredible sponsor. But yeah, I appreciate that. Family, community, it means a lot. Elevate your next event. Visit friedasflowersindie.com to learn more.
These flowers are beautiful, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, she does a great job. Dierre, I got a few more questions for you before I let you go. I want to be respectful of your time, but I've really appreciated everything that you shared so far, getting to learn more about your story and some of the whys of why you do.
I love these questions. These are really good questions.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But what I want to step into now is tapping into your perspective your unique perspective as artist, journalist, and then just student / community member / just human being.
Yeah.
On two specific cultural touchstones that have happened in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
The first one is very specific to you at Jackson State. You mentioned it. You were there when Coach Prime, Deion Sanders came through.
Yes.
Which was a big moment. Not just for Jackson State, but for HBCUs and really college football and college sports.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you from those perspectives, and particularly as a student experiencing it as it was happening?
I think for me, as a student experiencing it, like, I was at Jackson State before he came. So it was a big narrative when he left out that, he gave y'all school the notoriety, the hype and stuff like that. Let me be clear. Jackson State University been popping. Let's not forget, Drake performed at our halftime show when he was doing Take Care. And that was probably one of the biggest moments ever. So, like, there's always this ongoing narrative that he gave our school more credit, but I will not discredit what he's done for our school.
Sure.
Let me make that clear. We had a very good football team. We went undefeated. We didn't get the bowl, but it's cool. Like, I'm not one of them that just disrespect Prime and stuff like that, but I also don't tolerate when people disrespect our school and make this, like, narrative that he gave our school all this notoriety and stuff like that. Like, it's not what people think it is on the outside looking in.
Yeah.
But speaking to what you were saying, like, what it was like, it was fun, man. Like I said, my sophomore year, that was my favorite. That was my favorite year of college because it was just so, like, it was just fun being acclimated with just a lot of different people and just the culture. Like, going, like, I don't know when, but just at a certain point in your life, just come to a Jackson State game.
All right.
Like, it's not like any other game. Like, the Sonic Boom. Shout out to the Sonic Boom of the South, man. Like, that is some of the best, like, that is the best band in the world. I don't care what nobody say.
Okay.
And they got to perform at the Rose Bowl. So, shout out to the Rose Bowl. Yeah, man, like, that was an experience like no other. It definitely put our school... It gave our school a lot more eyes.
Sure.
It was a good and bad thing, but it was a different time for sure.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that because I was going to follow up and ask, like, what was something that people, like, misperceive about that time? But I think you touched on it, is that he brought a lot of fame and notoriety to the school when really they didn't need him.
Oh, and the narrative with his the narrative about just the dynamic of our school. I remember his daughter mentioning like, oh, it's a murder every week and stuff like that. It was a lot of negative stuff that they were saying, or that we stole money from him and stuff like that. It was a lot of stuff they was talking about our school with, but
that's what happens with that level of attention. Scrutiny, the random storylines. Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask you about is a little more recent. You talked about Drake just now, but we've recently come out of the end, I believe, especially after the pop-out show.
For sure, yeah.
Of the Kendrick Lamar
that was
and
a
Drake
great show.
Beef.
A wonderful show.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, that has to be the end of it. I don't know how you can go any further, but from Drake's perspective. Anyways, what is your take on that whole situation from, again, your unique perspective as artist, journalist, and then just person of the culture, just a person of the community? What is your take on everything that kind of was involved in that?
Well, first, before I get into like the nooks and crannies, as a personal fan of both of them, I loved every bit of it because they've been in the Cold War. I call it a Cold War for like a decade now, like giving small sub disses with each other and stuff like that. But like, if I'm talking about like the realness of it, as someone that grew up in an impoverished community, like the certain talking points that Kendrick went into about how he kind of has like a colonizer take with hip hop and stuff like that, I loved it because a lot of hip hop in the new age, a lot of it is gimmicky.
Yeah.
They take on, or they use these artists to put on certain personas to portray a certain thing that they call our culture, but it's really not our culture. Our culture in hip hop is not all violence and guns, strip clubs and money and all this stuff like that. Granted, it's in our culture, yes, I will not deny that. But a lot of it has kind of been like overly spewed to the mass media to where it's, like I said, it's gimmicky now.
Yeah.
And I feel like Drake has played a part with, like I said, he only uses his blackness in proximity to those things. So he does it to make himself feel like, oh, okay, well, since I'm around these people, then I'm black or whoop-de-whoop. It gets very chippy. It gets very chippy, but it was needed because he kind of proved his point. Like, like he brung out his community. He brung out different artists that was not known in the West Coast scene or whatever like that, and he brung different gangs that was in his community. He brung them all on stage. It was no issues and stuff like that. Like, just to prove a point. Like, yes, like I am literally the culture. Like, and you can't take that away from me. So it was definitely a victory lap for sure. But
do you think it was like a needed moment in hip hop?
It was needed
time?
Because I always mention, and Skip mentioned this. Well, Skip mentioned it in regards to the indie music scene, but a lot of how hip hop is portrayed is I'm not a big fan of it because they portray a lot of just negative stuff that it affects the youth. It really does. They see these rappers, and I don't care what nobody say. A lot of people be like, oh, well, your parents don't need to be... Man, the internet is so vast now. These kids can get on whatever on the phone and stuff like that, and they going to see these things, and they're going to look up to these people.
Yep.
And if they're portraying these negative things that are within our community, they're going to invoke and they're going to act on that.
Yeah.
Like, music is sonics. Music is frequencies. If there's a bunch of different frequencies in the air when it comes to just the music that they listening to, they're going to act on that.
Yeah.
If they're going to hear somebody saying rob, kill, steal, they're going to do that. I don't care what nobody says.
Yeah.
That's literally any music that you listen to.
Well, it influences the narrative.
Yes.
And then the narrative is an intangible thing.
Yeah.
So we can't see once that's taken root.
Yeah.
We only see the aftermath.
Yes.
But then once we have the aftermath and we face the consequence, whether we face them or not, which we usually don't, we then can look back and be like, oh, if we wouldn't have done this then, we could have circumvented this now. But we're not rooted in our present and thinking about being informed by our past. While we look towards the future, we're just like, it's fine. It's whatever.
And to that point, it's not our fault.
No,
it's made like that.
Yes.
Like I said, it was at a point in time, and like I said, I'm a student of this game. It was a point in time because NWA dealt with it. I forgot the other group name with Flavor Flav. They dealt with Public Enemy.
Public
They
Enemy,
dealt
yep.
with it like they was promoting socially conscious music
Yeah.
that was invoking the people. They're like, nah, we want y'all to talk about being gangster, killing people, and robbing people because we know the youth listen to that, and we want the youth to invoke that. It's a system, man.
It really is a system.
It's
All
a
right.
system.
I got two more questions, but one more just kind of like just to dive into it because I know you wanted to get to it and I wanted to get to it too.
Yeah.
And it's something we've talked about with everybody in the hip hop community here that's come on this show. But just your perspective on the indie hip hop scene here, particularly from when you really got into it as a junior in high school versus your perspective on it now as somebody who is quote unquote a seasoned artist in the game.
Like I said, I really love that convo you had with Skip, man. Like, it's kind of like what he said, and me and Corey have had this conversation before. The type of style of hip hop that I came into when it came to the indie hip hop scene, it was not prioritized. The stuff that was prioritized was a lot of the gang culture, the street culture, which is fine. I feel like everything could coexist.
Sure.
But a lot of that stuff was pushed back then. But I came in around that time where that stuff was being pushed. So a lot of the stuff that I was rapping about, talking about, it was not prioritized. It was not put on the forefront.
Sure.
So I'm not gonna lie, at the time it made me angry. It made me bitter because it's like, y'all are promoting this type of stuff, and like I'm actually rapping about things that I feel like is more relevant and actually important, but this is being prioritized. Granted, I've learned to mature and not take a bitter perspective on it because at the end of the day, and I feel like Corey taught me that like these things can coexist, and it is now coexisting. That's the culture now. The culture now is like, all right, every type of music that y'all want to do, it has a place. It has a time and place. You can go to Square Cat and perform your song. It might be some punk rock type of rap, or it can be some street type of rap, or it could be some boom bap type of rap. Like everything coexists now, and it's not as like, all right, this is what we're pushing now.
Yeah.
Like it's not like that no more.
Anything that you'd bring from your experience in Jackson to the experience that you see here in Indy from a hip hop perspective?
One thing I learned, and I feel like at the time I was very ignorant of, like Mississippi is home to a lot of different sounds and sonics, specifically the blues. Like that's where the blues came from. It came from Mississippi, and I think a lot of that sound reflects in the artists that are there. And there's like a grittiness to it, and I think that is probably what I'm trying to bring more into with my music and stuff like that. And I feel like it meshes well just with how I grew up here in the city. Like living in the inner city is rough, and I feel like that mesh of just the grittiness, but also that jazz that comes with being down south, it meshes very well. And I'm just trying to find a balance with it. So yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear what comes of that. Kxng Dierre, I appreciate you sitting down and sharing so much. I feel like we got into some things I didn't know we were going to get into, and I'm like, oh, there's some other stuff that I would love to cover, but we are over an hour, so I'm going to give you as much of your time back as we can. As we close it out here, one, thank you so much for everything that you shared. Two, I know we talked before we got on mic that you have a project coming out.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about the project. And three, how do we find it? How do we find you? How do we support you once we get out of the interview?
Got you. So as far as where to find all my stuff, you can find all my stuff at Kxng Dierre. That's Kxng Dierre. And as far as the project that I'm working on, I'm currently working on the project. It's called Dirty Dirty. Essentially, in short, it's supposed to be like my ode to the South. That's the nickname for Mississippi, but specifically the South is the Dirty Dirty. And I basically want to reflect just my time being in Jackson, and I want to show that musically, like all the stuff that I've experienced and all the different sounds that I've been acclimated with and stuff like that. So yeah.
All right, I'm excited for that. When can we expect this project? Can we put a date on it?
I'm trying to aim for November.
I'm
trying to aim for November. So expect it in around November. Yeah, I'm a fourth quarter artist. I love the fourth quarter and maybe the first quarter. I'm not a summer. I can do fall, but I like that fourth quarter. I like it when it's snowing and it's cold.
Okay.
Because you got to sit in your house and you got to sit in your room in your car and listen to the music.
I like it. I like it. Starter and finisher
Exactly.
of the game.
Yes.
I'm here for it. Dierre, I can't thank you enough for coming on here. There is so much more that I want to talk to you about. We're definitely going to do a 2.0 in the future.
For sure.
Whenever I can catch you coming back through town. But
You'll
thank
catch
you
me.
for making this time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. For everybody else, episodes of the show drop every Tuesday, wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at ConversationPodPeace. Go to our website, conversationpeacepod.com, for merch stuff that is coming for sure, and for all of your archive needs and everything else that we have there. Sign up for our newsletter. And we have a lot of really cool stuff coming up. Make sure you check that out because we have giveaways coming. That's right. We have giveaways coming in August. Make sure you're ready for that. Last but not least, shout out to Mike Lee on the cameras, Popular Rapture and John Overton on the boards, Kxng Dierre on the mic as my guest, and Frida's Flowers for this amazing set piece. I guess I'll shout myself out as the host because I have been Patrick Armstrong during this time, and this has been Conversation Piece. And when all of that stuff happens, we will see you then.